was so much fun. They're great friends of mine, so I'd love to not take any more time away from Scott and Sheila. Let's give them a round of applause.
How are y'all doing today?
Golly, there's a lot of people.
Well, first off, this is a short presentation, so we won't have a board behind us showing pictures.
Scott, I'm sorry. I know.
Y'all get on me about that all the time. I really do. Anyway, how many in here believe in Bigfoot? Oh, wasn't quite enough hands, I didn't think. You're at a Bigfoot festival. How many in here have seen a Bigfoot?
Can't hear you.
How many have seen a Bigfoot? I see some hands in the back there.
How many think we're crazy?
We embrace that. We really do. Because we're some of the fortunate people that have actually got to lay eyes on one. And we'll tell you all about that here in just a little bit. But first off, I'm Scott. This is Sheila Granger, my better half. We have Squatch Fishing Outfitters in North Georgia. We are the group on the East Coast, which there are some other groups, but we are one of the groups on the East Coast that actually carries people out on Bigfoot expeditions. Over weekend expeditions, and we've had a lot of success in doing this. We've provided people with the opportunity to have their own encounters. We have provided people the opportunity to have their own sightings, both daylight and on thermals. We just about abandoned night vision technology and went to all thermal imaging, and that's our own preference, and we have our reasons for it. Like I said, this is going to be a shorter presentation today. Tomorrow, we will have a full presentation with slides, clips, and everything like that. Major question. For all those that think they want to see a Bigfoot, raise your hands.
Wow.
That's a little better. That's a little better. Well, I'll tell you what. We would love to provide y'all that opportunity. We never can guarantee anything. One thing we do guarantee on our outings is we are going to have a big time, have fun, and we are going to eat well.
Woo-hoo! Yeah, we believe that.
These young ladies that are team members of Squatch Fishing Outfitters, they are fabulous cooks, and y'all can tell. Oh boy, ain't missing no meal. But I'll tell you what, as Mike said earlier, we filmed a show with him, and that show consisted of Sheila's first daylight sighting. And everybody come here to hear a story, right?
Woo!
So I'm gonna let her tell you her first sighting.
First of all, I'm going to go ahead and apologize. I talk fast when I'm nervous, and the accent gets worse, so y'all might need an interpreter. And there she is. Yeah, my clothes are open. I always wanted to see a Bigfoot. The first movie, The Legend of Boggy Creeks, that got it. That got it for me. I wanted to see a Bigfoot, but I said I'd have to see it with my own eyes to believe it. You know, we had had activity before, heard noises. I remember hearing whoops before, and I'd ask him, what kind of bird makes a whooping sound? I didn't have a clue, not a clue, and I was by myself. I could have got, been a forest bride, and y'all have never seen me here. But it was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, in September as a matter of fact, and we were in North Georgia, and we were actually scouting for an upcoming trip. We did not have our little business at the time, you know, we were just out with one other friend. We were going to the top of a ridge. Well, I thought we were, but apparently it was just me because Scott and our friend were standing at the bottom. So I went on up to the top, and it was pretty high. Not a lot of foliage on the trees in September. I looked down, you know, because our cars were way down there, just looking for that. I was a police officer for 22 years, so I like to think, you know, I'm kind of observant, can pick up on things. I heard a clicking noise about my 4 o'clock. I took a step back, looked over there about 25 yards away, and something moved, just swayed a little bit. And I'm looking, and until you've laid eyes on something that you cannot pull up in your brain, because you've never seen anything like that, you can't understand. Like it was not in my card catalog, to pull up. But I knew it wasn't a bear. So I'm looking at it, it's looking at me. There's no doubt whatsoever what's going on. And it sways, and I say, Scott, because I thought he was behind me. Well, of course he wasn't. So it's bouncing a little bit more. His shoulder was still on that side of the tree. I said, Scott! And this thing dropped like a puff of smoke and took off on all fours. And when he got up there to me, y'all, I could have shook a can of paint. I didn't need Lowe's or whatever you call it. I was shaking so bad. But it wasn't from fear, because I'm stupid like that. We ran towards it. And you could see on the ground where it had dropped and just tore out. And it took me about 3 days. I kept asking Scott, do you think that was a Bigfoot? Well, I knew it wasn't a bear. I knew it was a Bigfoot. So I'm 110% sure. I'm not a believer. I'm a knower. And the only thing I can do is say we welcome skeptics. If you want to know, if you're curious, you want to be with like-minded people, then you need to come go with us.
I tell people whenever I got to her after she had that sighting, everyone knows what a tickle me Elmo is. Well, I had my full-size version at that time. From about her chin to her ankle, she was vibrating. She points out that area where this thing is and tells us all what had happened. And her and our friend, and I don't name our friend only because he's passed away, but her and our friend, they go over to it, and she had pointed out to me on the tree where the top of this thing's head was, and when they get over there, what she didn't know was there was a decline on the backside of that tree. Well, our friend is 6'3". When they step off the backside of that over there, they drop down. I'm like, oh wow. So he has to hold his hand up to get to where this thing's head was. So once we get all that done, I get over there to it. We saw where he made his tracks and everything, where he took off running. We tracked him down that ridge to a ravine. That ravine was 15 yards across, probably about 10 yards or about 30 feet deep. He didn't go through the ravine, he jumped it. I mean, he cleared it. We found where he hid on the other side and trailed him on up into the thick stuff. Then we left him alone for a little while. We had to get back and get her recovering. And we do have that happen with some of our people that go with us. They get to see something and they're rattled a little bit. They really are. Because like what she said, you just saw something that's not supposed to exist. And there's nothing in your mind, that you can relate it to closer. So it is a life-altering, changing experience to get the opportunity to see one of these things. We had an expedition going, carried a group out, and we had something thrown at us from the right-hand side of the road. Well, naturally, when something gets thrown at you, you tend to look that way. In our setup, the way we do things is we have a man that's on the back side of our hiking groups. Generally, 9 times out of 10, that's my other guy, Mr. Nathan Robinson, right here. Nathan is our eyes behind us, around us, and everything else. Well, he has a specific job. Things like that happen. He's not the man that's looking towards where everything come from. He's looking everywhere else to see what may be coming up on us or around us. When he was looking around, he found it. Another one off to the side of us. It was over behind a rock about 30 yards away from us. And he's giving us a full upper torso thermal image. He's bouncing around watching us. And Nathan told us we had him. So we all get to looking at him. We're passing thermals around. Everybody's getting a chance to see this thing behind the rock. And it started picking his hands up towards his face like it was eating something. And this went on for quite a while. I think we had like 7 people on that hike. Everyone got the opportunity to look through the thermals and see this. Yeah, you can watch him moving around and everything, picking his hands up. Well, that went on long enough, and we were kind of getting, I shouldn't say we were getting bored with it, but I really wanted him to stand up and walk away. so everybody get that opportunity to watch him walk away. And like Sheila said, we're dumb about some of the things we do, and this is one of them. I tend to walk out with them, and they'll run off. They'll walk away sometimes. Most of the time they're running. This particular time, I had one of my best friends with me, or not him, his son was with us. And I'm getting ready to go out and make this thing move, flush it a little bit. And he asked me if he could go with me. And against my better judgment, I let him go with me after me and him had a short conversation. And I explained to him, whatever happens out here, we're not running. Do not run. Because once you run from an apex predator, you become prey. You are like the ball that just got rolled across the front living room floor for the cat to chase. And that's what happens. So we get out there. We put our headlamps around behind this rock, and unknown to me, he's not there at that point in time. Nathan had told me that he didn't have him on thermal anymore. So I figured he probably laid down. Get around there, and he's not there. I think to myself, well, what in the world? So I'm kind of looking around with a headlamp. I'm not seeing anything, so I pull out a big, heavy light. And I throw it on this white light, and I'm scanning around, and as I come around, he's 15 yards away from us with his back to us, squatted down. He's eating something, but he's looking at me and my friend's son. And I put that light right in his face. So the young man that was standing right beside me, he got the best opportunity, the best sighting in the world. When I put the light in his face, he kind of just turned away from us and continued on doing what he was doing. This was one of the very first times, I'm not going to say the first time, but this was one of the worst nervous times I'd had doing this. Normally, things run off or they walk off. This one, yeah. This one didn't. He was more interested in what he had on that ground right there than us. So I tell my buddy's son, I said, start easing on back to the group. Let's work our way out of here. So we slowly back out. And I told him at that time, I said, if this thing gets up and starts towards us, I said, you just drop your head and continue to back up. So we work our way on back to the group, and we wind up getting that group off the side of that mountain. Everyone, when we get back to the campfire, everybody is, you can only imagine. It was so serene about it, because everybody's asking like, well, what happened? What happened? So we slowly started explaining what happened to everyone. Then everybody had wished they went on the hiking route. But for some of y'all that do know, our outings that we go on, they're 2-night camping events. We started on Friday evenings, disperse on Sundays.
I think that maybe one person hasn't come back. Either you're addicted to this. If you go down that rabbit hole, and it is a rabbit hole, you'll always have more questions than you will answers. Or you'll never go in the woods again, and you'll just live in a high-rise somewhere in the big city, is all I can say. So you got to be sure this is what you want to do. I mean, a lot of people think we hike where we live. We don't have to hike 20 miles in the backwoods, and not see anything. My opinion is Scott and I have a few active areas. I think they recognize us. That's what I believe. I really do. We have a good time doing what we do. I want to recognize our Martha Stewart of our crew here, Michelle. We're getting ready out here. We have made lifelong friends. He's retired. One day I'll retire. But we enjoy what we do, and we just like for people to come enjoy it with us. You want to ask any questions?
Back to what Sheila was saying. All what we do, the things we put on and everything, our team members, if it weren't for them, we couldn't do what we do. I mean, there's just a lot of work that goes into putting one of these things on. Any type of event such as this, people don't get to see the background part of it. And that's the hardest part. But at this point in time, we'd like to take questions, or from anyone that has a question. It is bright back there. Nobody's got a question.
Y'all can't be shy. Where are
North Georgia. North Georgia, a little town called Ellijay is where we're based out of, up in the North Georgia mountains.
About 5 hours from here, I think.
We actually live. No, we don't. We actually live up in a holler in the mountains, and we actually do have these critters around our home area also. We bought that place. We had no idea that they were there. They showed themselves to us about 2 weeks after we bought the house. You had a question?
What made you believe in Bigfoot?
What made us believe in Bigfoot? Well, I was the biggest skeptic in the world about this. You know, I was that guy. I was that person to tell you quick. I have hunted and fished the river bottoms and swamps and everything in the southeast all my life. And when I say that, I wasn't that guy that pulled up in a truck and walked 10 yards to his deer stand. I was that guy that pulled up in a truck and about a mile later I got to get in one. But I tell people that, you know, if anything like this existed by this time in my lifetime, I would have seen it or something. Sheila drug me into doing this. She got me to watch The Legend of Boggy Creek, and I said, okay, you know, I reluctantly said, yeah, we'll go on one of these things for you. We had some activity go on that first expedition I went on. I said, you know what, there may be something to this. What I didn't realize was, after doing it for as long as we have, I had been seeing these things, the signs and the sounds and everything. I'd been hearing them all my life, I just didn't know what I was hearing. Didn't know what a whoop was until, you know, because I'd heard it a blue dozen times. But once we got doing this, like I said, and we're actually in our 4th season of doing the expeditions now. We've been doing it longer than that, but it took quite a while to get the permits and licenses and insurance and everything to do what we do. And if the day I sit with that National Forest Committee and explain to them exactly what it is we do, I was expecting to be laughed out of that room. There was not a smile or cracked grin in that room. They all just shook their head like, okay.
They waited till he left.
Yeah, they probably waited all laugh, but they didn't laugh at me at that point. But anyway, are there any more questions for us?
Have you seen any lights?
Yes, ma'am. Lights are a thing that we see a lot up in North Georgia mountains. We see a lot of orbs. Are you going to be here tomorrow?
Probably not.
Okay, that's how you're not going to be here tomorrow.
TikTok. Follow us on TikTok. I post pictures.
One of the best orb situations we had, there was a group of us, several of us, we were on and I don't mind telling you where it was at. It was in Helen, Georgia, up in the National Forest there. We're up on a food plot, up there, huge food plot. We're all out there and we're doing our thing, you know, we're getting everything set up. One of the guys says, hey, look, points it out to us. There is and I use the analogy, a Nerf football, that shape and about that size, or coming down the side of this food plot at a height of about 3.5 foot. And it stays level coming. Yet that thing traveled for 75 yards up the side of that food plot. Gets up there pretty close to us, turns and goes into the brush. Well, then it goes over behind the berm. Well, my first thought was, let's go over behind that berm and see what this is. And I couldn't convince them other guys to go with me. They're like, no, it'll be there tomorrow and all that. Well, when we come back the next morning, bright and early, and walked over behind that berm, all the vegetation, it looked like a cow had laid down there and mashed all the vegetation down that night. So at that point, I was kind of glad we didn't go over there.
Your local Bigfoot that you got to see, did you get to see his face? Can you describe his face?
Can you describe his face?
The one I saw had no hair on its face. To me, it looked like it had more human characteristics than an ape. I know a lot of people say it looks like an ape, but what I saw, it looked more human. He had, it was almost like clay or leathery skin on his face, and he was a cinnamon-looking color, and it was like a lot of hair hanging off of him. It looked like this humongous man wearing a cinnamon-colored fur coat.
answer to your question about the one we saw such close range,
Stop.
it's about the same way. It was grayish type face, leathery type face. Did not have a conical shaped head, round head like me and you. And his characteristics to me were more human-like, and I would say more Neanderthalic look, and not typical ape look. And the other thing that really caught my attention was when I put that light in his face and he picked his hand up and kind of shielded his eyes a little bit. The hands on this thing are massive. I would hate to have a set of those wrapped around me really well. Yes, sir.
Hey, what color were the lights you saw?
The color of the lights. The orb that we watched come down the side of that food plot was a chartreuse color. But we see orbs and lights anywhere from white, yellowish, blue, red.
The one we saw that day, it come up from the mountain, straight above, it was circular. Never heard a sound.
Sheila.
No sound.
Can't hear you.
So we've seen different ones. Sometimes when we see the orbs, we have more activity. You just never know. I mean, honestly, we've been camping and not have any activity. I'm not saying we have activity all the time, but I'm saying I really believe where we go, they're familiar with us and they're like, oh my God, they're back again.
The areas that we utilize and everything, we have located and found these things, and we're in these areas all the time. This is a full-time thing for me and Sheila. As she said, I'm retired. She's retired from one profession, started another one after she grew up. And so we're in the mountains with these things 4 or more days a week. And I kind of sort of do believe they do recognize us. You know, we're in their home, we're in their backyard. Are there any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
We want to know, she wants to know, if you think Bigfoot is a skinwalker.
Do we think Bigfoot is a skinwalker? No, we don't. A skinwalker is an entirely different entity that is derived down from Native American lore. Do I believe in skinwalker? Yeah. But no, Bigfoot, I don't believe it's a skinwalker. But that's my belief, because no one can say 100% for sure what they are. Do we leave gifts on our things? Sometimes we do. Sometimes we'll leave apples, peanut butter. Sometimes we'll leave crystals. There's something about crystals and energy. Sometimes they're gone, sometimes they're not. Usually, you know, the apple's a hard thing to pick because any other critter in the woods could get it. The peanut butter jar is our favorite to work with because it kind of takes hands or something. And if a bear or something gets that peanut butter jar, you know, they usually tear it up and eat it on the spot. Usually our peanut butter jars leave. We can't find them. And the lid, yeah. Anyone else? I think we're about to run out of time on ours. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
What was the question?
Do we ever hear any really deep growls?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, we do. Actually, there's a short story I'm going to let Sheila tell you real quick.
Oh, y'all gonna love this. Okay, so Scott and I were hiking out in the woods, and we were pretty good in, you know. I started hearing the sound that sounded like steaks being driven into like a tent. You know what I'm talking about? It was like, I can't say this word, rhythmic. So we come back a couple days later because I'd heard something sounding like an ape in front of the zoo, you know, it's building itself up. We come back a couple of days later to get the audio, me and Scott, Michelle, and her husband. Her husband and Scott walked to retrieve the audio. We're still in the woods now, mind you, pretty good ways in the woods. Michelle is never, ever going to let the fire go out. She'll burn every tree down. I'm telling you, I love her to death. She's the biggest chicken I know. So I had the audio going, and I'm hearing something. if you've ever heard an alligator growl, that's the only thing I can explain it sounded like. But it was down the ridge, and it was coming closer to us. And I said, Michelle, do you hear that? Well, she's too busy dragging a tree to the fire. I finally had her sit down, and she hears it. I recorded 14 growls coming closer to us. It's all on audio. Yeah, I can't tell you what it was. I'm pretty sure there wasn't no alligator up there. And at the end of those 14 growls, there was just a really pretty whoop. So I was excited about that, but I'm here to tell you, I'm not fixing to be a forest bride. I'll trip her.
When we got back to the fire ring after all this happened, and they were explaining it to us, me and the other gentleman I was with, we actually heard a whoop when we went down there retrieving the audio. And we knew we had audio running at the where Michelle and Sheila was on, going on too. So we get home, I throw it on a spectrogram and get to watching it and listening to it. And I was in amazement of how it was. I mean, because it was in the audio, when you can hear an audio and you can visually tell that something is getting closer and closer to you, because your audio is not moving, it is getting louder and more predominant and pronounced. I was kind of glad we got back when we did. I believe we are about at the end of our time, so we are going to turn this back over. I got time for one more question. None? Right there.
You were on the side of the field or something, and there was, I guess it must have been a Bigfoot not too far away, and it was playing with something, and it didn't take off like the ordinary. And what was it playing with?
We didn't see, because he had his back to us, and what he had was on the ground in front of him. And at that point in time, my number one thing was the safety of the people that were with me. So we weren't going to press the issue too much about what he had.
That's so important.
But that is our number one thing, is the safety of the people that go on these outings. And that's my job, is what I have to do. We will be here tomorrow speaking again at, I think it's 10:30 tomorrow. Tomorrow will be a full presentation with slideshow and everything going for us. At this time, I'd like to turn it back over to Mr. Mike Family with Big Red Eye.